A revolution is underway in parts of the region, a Jesus revolution. An unprecedented number of Muslims are forsaking Islam and choosing to follow Christ, especially in Iran.
What if a nation steeped in centuries-old traditions started to change in ways no one saw coming? Picture this: churches packed with worshippers while mosques see fewer attendees. That's exactly what's happening in the Islamic Republic of Iran. A dramatic shift in mindset that's leaving everyone asking, what's going on? Trust me, the answer is mind-blowing, and you'll want to stick around to hear the whole story. Over 1 million Muslims in Iran have made the unexpected decision to convert to Christianity. Could this surge in Christianity signal the beginning of the end for radical Islam? Let's find out. When most people think of Iran, Christianity is not the religion that immediately comes to mind. As the largest Shiite Muslim state in the world, Iran is not only deeply rooted in Islamic traditions, but also known for its strict enforcement of religious principles. However, beneath this surface, a profound and unexpected transformation is quietly unfolding. A surge in conversions from Islam to Christianity. This movement is not only reshaping the country's religious landscape, but also challenging the very foundation of its theocratic regime. Iran's Islamic Republic is built on the principles of Shiite Islam, and for decades, the government has tightly controlled religious expression, often punishing dissenters harshly. The infamous morality police, tasked with enforcing Islamic laws, came under international scrutiny yet again after allegedly shooting a woman for violating mandatory hijab laws. Such incidents reflect the rigid and often oppressive measures employed to maintain religious conformity. Despite these efforts, signs of dissatisfaction are everywhere. A staggering 50,000 of Iran's 75,000 mosques have reportedly closed due to declining attendance. Senior Iranian cleric M. Muhammad Abul Qasim attributed this to a significant decline in patronage, signaling a broader crisis of faith among Iranians. This trend correlates with reports that around 1 million Muslims in Iran have embraced Christianity, suggesting that an undercurrent of religious change is gaining momentum. The term Jesus Revolution has been used to describe the growing wave of Iranians converting to Christianity. According to a joint study conducted by CBN and the International Radio Ministry, The Tide, an estimated 1 million Muslims in Iran have accepted Christ. This is not just a statistical anomaly. It represents a profound cultural and spiritual shift. The reasons behind this movement are deeply intertwined with Iran's political, social, and economic struggles. For many, Christianity offers a stark contrast to the authoritarian and punitive nature of the Islamic regime. It provides a message of hope, love, forgiveness, and a personal connection to God, principles that resonate deeply with those disillusioned by decades of oppression. Todd Nettleton of The Voice of the Martyrs highlights that Iran is grappling with some of the highest drug addiction rates in the world, widespread corruption, and a population where over half live in poverty. For a growing number of Iranians, these systemic failures have tarnished the appeal of Islam as practiced in the country. Economic hardship has been a significant driver of dissatisfaction. Iran's economy has suffered under international sanctions, mismanagement, and corruption. The resulting poverty has left many Iranians questioning the promises of the Islamic theocracy. A survey conducted by the Netherlands-based Gan Institute found that 80% of Iranians desire a democratic government, rejecting the Islamic Republic in its current form. This disillusionment with political Islam has created fertile ground for exploring alternative spiritual paths. In this context, Christianity is seen not merely as a religion, but as a means of liberation, both spiritually and socially. The promise of democracy and human rights, often associated with Christian-majority nations, appeals to those yearning for freedom and equality. This growing interest in Christianity aligns with broader calls for reform, suggesting that religion is becoming a focal point for resistance against the regime. Unsurprisingly, the Islamic leadership in Iran has responded harshly to the rise of Christianity. Conversion from Islam is forbidden, and apostates often face severe punishment, including imprisonment and even death. The government's attempts to suppress Christianity are part of a broader strategy to maintain control over the population. Despite these efforts, underground churches and digital platforms have become hubs for Christian worship and education, enabling the movement to grow despite the risks involved. Todd Nettleton explains that this growth is not just about dissatisfaction with Islam, but also about the unique appeal of Christianity. Converts often cite the religion's emphasis on compassion and forgiveness as key factors in their decision. For many, the idea of a personal relationship with God offers a sense of hope and agency absent in their previous religious experience. In a world where so many feel let down by those in power and crushed under the weight of systemic injustice, the teachings of Jesus stand out as a message of hope and compassion. The words from Matthew 11:28-30 have a way of speaking directly to the hearts of those who are struggling. "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light." These words aren't just comforting. They're a bold promise of peace and relief for people worn down by years of hardship. For many Iranians, they offer exactly what they've been searching for: a sense of freedom and solace in a system that seems to have abandoned them. In Iran, where oppression and hardship have become part of daily life, Christianity is becoming more than just a religion for many. It's a symbol of personal freedom and a way to push back against a regime that ties religion and politics so tightly together. For those who feel trapped by the empty promises of the Islamic theocracy, turning to Jesus is like finding a way to breathe again. This isn't just about spiritual belief, it's a deeply personal act of rebellion. Iran's government has built its power on strict interpretations of Islam, and converting to Christianity challenges that foundation. Choosing Christianity in Iran isn't just about faith, it's a statement. It says, "I reject the system that has failed me." For decades, the Iranian people have faced a host of challenges: widespread poverty, government corruption, and one of the highest rates of drug addiction in the world. For many, these realities have shattered their faith in a system that promised them justice and dignity through Islam. In contrast, Christianity offers something radically different. Its message of love, forgiveness, and hope feels like an antidote to the harshness of daily life. The idea of a personal relationship with God, one built on compassion rather than control, has drawn thousands to explore a faith that feels more human and accessible. Of course, this movement hasn't gone unnoticed. The Iranian government views the growth of Christianity as a serious threat, not just to their religious authority, but to their entire political system. The regime's response has been to crack down hard. Underground churches are raided, Christian converts are arrested, and public expressions of faith are closely monitored. The government's fear is clear. If people find hope and meaning outside of the state's version of Islam, it undermines their control. But even with the risks, the movement continues to grow. Many converts rely on digital platforms and secret gatherings to practice their faith and support one another. It's a quiet but determined revolution, and the government's efforts to stop it have only highlighted the resilience of those involved. Across Iran, new Christian converts quietly share the profound changes in their lives with friends and loved ones, navigating the dangerous reality of their newfound faith with care and caution. Safe spaces for spiritual seekers, such as hidden house churches and discreet Bible study groups, offer refuge but remain under constant threat. These small gatherings, often consisting of no more than 10 to 15 believers, take place in unassuming locations, modest apartments, or inconspicuous homes. As the final attendee arrives and the door locks, a wave of relief sweeps over the group, and they warmly embrace the safety of their community, however fleeting it might be. This fragile sense of peace is often shattered when authorities raid these gatherings with the precision of a military operation. Leaders, seen as the linchpins of these underground networks, are singled out for severe punishment. Taken without warning, they face detention in facilities designed to break their spirit through solitary confinement, torture, and relentless psychological pressure. The government's intent is clear: force these believers to renounce their faith and return to Islam. Detainees endure harsh conditions, cut off from family, legal aid, and any semblance of fairness, as they face vague charges like acting against national security. Even after completing their sentences, the nightmare continues. The government maintains strict surveillance, monitoring every movement and communication of those it considers a threat. Yet, despite these risks, more Iranians are drawn to the teachings of Jesus, finding in them a message of hope and liberation amidst the injustice, corruption, and oppression that defines their daily lives. The regime's fear-driven tactics aim to suppress this growing spiritual movement, but the numbers tell a different story. Christianity is quietly gaining ground. This shift aligns with Jesus' words in Matthew 10:22. "You will be hated by everyone because of me, but the one who stands firm to the end will be saved." These prophetic words resonate deeply with Iranian Christians who endure unimaginable persecution, yet remain steadfast in their faith. Their courage and resilience shine as they navigate constant threats of violence, imprisonment, and worse. Interestingly, while the government responds with harsh repression, many friends and family members of converts show a more understanding attitude. As Todd Nettleton of The Voice of the Martyrs explains, their perspective often shifts to acceptance. If you've discovered something that works for you, whether it's Jesus, atheism, or anything else, that's great. I just know Islam doesn't work, so I'm glad you found something else that does. This grassroots spiritual movement is not limited to Iran. Don Chen, executive director of the Tide Ministry, highlights that Iran represents just one part of a larger trend across the Muslim world. What's happening in Iran is just the tip of the iceberg. Similar movements to Christ are emerging across the Islamic world. While the Iranian government fights to maintain control, the growing wave of conversions signals a deeper, irreversible shift, fueled by a longing for freedom, truth, and hope. Reports from the Tide Ministry reveal a compelling phenomenon. Many Muslims are having dreams and visions of Jesus, experiences that often mark the beginning of profound spiritual journeys. While these encounters do not always lead directly to conversion, they frequently help individuals navigate deeply ingrained cultural and religious barriers. For many, these visions open the door to exploring Christianity and making meaningful connections with Christian believers. Shank, a representative of the Tide Ministry, notes that people who have these experiences often share similar reflections. "I now realize how much God loves me. I've always believed that He desires to punish me." Dreams and visions hold particular significance in Islamic culture, where they are often interpreted as divine communication. For Muslims who dream of Jesus, these experiences resonate deeply, portraying a message of compassion, love, and guidance that starkly contrasts with their previous understanding of God. These encounters often leave individuals questioning their beliefs and seeking answers in the teachings of Jesus, marking the start of a spiritual awakening. The transformative nature of these visions has drawn attention not only in Iran, where the phenomenon is most frequently reported, but also across the Muslim world. Shank believes that what is happening in Iran is part of a broader movement affecting the entire Muslim world. In Afghanistan, for instance, secretive Christians face grave risks as they practice their faith under the ever-present threat of Taliban persecution. The danger of exposure creates a pervasive atmosphere of distrust among believers who must navigate the constant fear of infiltration. Shank emphasizes the high stakes. Accepting Christ comes with a very real threat of death. Despite these challenges, feedback from Afghanistan indicates a growing number of people are embracing Christianity, driven by a desire for a relationship with God that feels deeply personal and redemptive. Yemen presents another striking example of this movement. Studies suggest the spread of Christianity there is occurring at nearly twice the global rate. This growth is particularly remarkable given Yemen's deeply entrenched Islamic traditions and the ongoing humanitarian crisis that dominates the country. Meanwhile, even in Saudi Arabia, a nation long known for its strict interpretation of Islam, there are signs of increased tolerance. Nettleton of the Voice of the Martyrs observes that while the environment for Christians remains challenging, the Saudi monarchy has begun to acknowledge the possibility of peaceful coexistence with Christians. This represents a significant shift from the attitudes of a decade or two ago, when any form of religious plurality was firmly rejected. The narrative of mass conversions has also gained momentum on social media. A viral tweet from conservative commentator Denduza claimed that millions of Muslims are becoming Christians, sparking widespread discussion and garnering thousands of responses. Further investigations uncovered an older interview from 2000 in which Al-Qahtani reportedly stated that 667 Muslims were converting to Christianity every hour, equating to 16,000 daily conversions and 6 million annually. While the figures are astonishing, they lack credible sources, leaving their accuracy in question. Nonetheless, anecdotal evidence from organizations like the Tide Ministry and the Voice of the Martyrs, as well as personal testimonies from converts, points to significant growth in Christianity among Muslims. New believers in the Middle East view their spiritual awakening as part of a broader movement of God's Spirit, a wave of transformation that holds the potential to reshape not just individual lives, but entire nations. In regions often labeled as Islamic strongholds, the Holy Spirit is breaking barriers and changing lives in ways that defy cultural and political expectations. The message of the Bible, with its universal call to redemption through Jesus, transcends borders, speaking to the hearts of people in every corner of the world. This movement is not confined to one country or community. It is a testament to the profound and universal nature of God's love, offering hope and renewal to people who have long endured oppression, injustice, and despair. For many in the Middle East, the realization of God's unconditional love is a revolutionary concept. It replaces the fear of divine punishment with the assurance of grace and forgiveness, introducing a God who is approachable, compassionate, and deeply invested in their well-being. The spiritual shift taking place is not merely about personal belief. It is creating ripples across the social and cultural fabric of the region. The Middle East, long viewed as resistant to change, is experiencing a quiet but undeniable transformation. As individuals accept the gift of salvation through Jesus, the region's spiritual landscape is beginning to shift. This transformation is rooted in a message that brings freedom, truth, and light to places long overshadowed by darkness. Despite significant opposition, the love and truth of God continue to penetrate these regions, softening hearts and inspiring hope where there was once despair.